running a tad bit behind. Weston should be here shortly, but we're gonna drag a little bit, and then we're gonna hopefully he'll pop in when he pops in. I wanted to start out just so I can drag things a little by thanking all of you for coming and thanking all of you for hopefully coming to more of these events. There are 5 in the series. This is the second one. So last week we were out at Cesar Chavez Library doing a big kind of a 2-part thing where we had a kind of a Ren fair on the outside and the panels and stuff on the inside. That was our fantasy and kind of hero's journey theme. Next week's theme is at Mesquite, and that is going to be sci-fi. So hopefully there will be some Star Wars stuff, there will be some space stuff going on. Any of the authors that are here who were last week, raise your hand. Yes. Yay! Anybody who was here?
Except for we went to the outside and this is stuff on the inside.
See, we gotta go both places. And then anybody who doing panels, any of my authors, are you doing panels for the next one at the sci-fi? No? Anybody doing romance? You're doing romance. All right. And then how about the last one of the session? We got Western and steampunk. Yeah? All right. Cool. See, so you may see some familiar faces, and if you come to the other ones, you may get to see them again. That is really the whole purpose of this idea, is that we'll be kind of all over the valley, and you'll get to know some of your local authors. We did stick to strictly local authors. Local was a little fuzzy because we do have some people coming in from, I think, as far as Tucson, might be one of them. So, yeah. And I think AJ might be somebody else too. So it's somewhere in the vicinity of Arizona. We got as close as possible. So I will be moderating today. I'm also an author. I'm not necessarily privileged to tell you guys that, because I also work for the library. Some of you who are Agave Library locals, you know me. All the books and book sales are being handled through Duncan. His booth is right here, just outside the meeting room, and so we hope that you will purchase some of the books. Also, some of these books you're going to see, they're in our libraries as well, so you might be able to just borrow them and decide if you like them or not, and then go buy more of them, because that's the whole idea, right? Yes?
Okay, question. Is he going to have the same books every week?
He's going to have a lot of the same ones, but not always, because some of the authors are not going to be here at every single one, so if he runs out, he might not have the same authors.
Yeah, I saw some last week that I wanted, but I didn't have the money, so I was like,
you can always ask him, and he may have like put them off to the side because they're not our featured authors this time.
Okay. Yeah.
So I also would like to tell all of the authors who are joining us, and any of them as a featured panelist, you are also an honored guest at any of the other ones. So if you want to come and hang out for all of them, you are more than welcome. We love to see you. I love to see you guys. Without dragging too long here, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, or let them introduce so that I don't mispronounce names. I'm going to introduce at least 2 out of our 3 panelists this morning. And I'd like to know just what your name is, obviously, and a little bit about your books and where we can find those books.
You want to start, Betty?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm Betty Webb, and I've written 20 mysteries, all traditionally published, but I'm thinking about trying self-publishing sometime, because those guys have a lot of fun. Anyway, like I say, I've written 20 mysteries. All are part of a series. The best known right now are the Lena Jones Desert series, and those are mysteries. They're very dark, and they're about the abuse of civil rights, let's put it that way. So those are dark, and here comes light. There are 10 Lena Jones books. The Puffin of Death, all of these books in this series, which I call the Gun Zoo series, there are 6 of those, are about a zookeeper who also solves crimes. This one I did, The Puffin of Death, I did a week up in Iceland to do research. And my current series, this just came out last week. This is a historical mystery set in Paris, 1922. And For those who are familiar with that, Picasso was there, Hemingway, Gertrude Stein, Colette, Salvador Dali, just a ton of people. So I'm having a great time writing these. And I think with that, I will go to my fellow panelists.
Okay, great, thank you. My name is Janeen O'Kerry. If you ever went to CopperCon or LepreCon or local things, I've been at those things here in the Phoenix area for quite a while. My first novel was published in 1994, and I did 9 more after that, which were published by Dorchester, which was the romance publisher. Now, you may be wondering if you wandered into the wrong panel or something, because these kind of look like fantasy books, because they kind of are. I'm on this panel because I also ghostwrite cozy mystery. And I wish I could show you those, but when you're a ghostwriter, you sign an NDA, and you can't talk about the exact books, but I can talk about writing cozy mystery. These are here for a little credibility is all. Yes, I write, I've done this. And these books, frankly, what they did for me was allow me to become a ghostwriter, because I could show some clients, yes, I've done these novels, and they were successful. Let me write for you. Because I would much rather do that than work a lot of other jobs that aren't nearly as interesting and work as a ghostwriter. I'm also an editor. I help other people get their books cleaned up and ready to publish. Mine are all published through Amazon these days. I self-publish. I mean, if we need to fill time or a little bit later, I'm going to be sitting at a table out here with some books for sale. I can answer some questions about self-publishing, how you get started, how you become a ghostwriter, things like that as well that we may not get to in here. You can ask me anything. I'll tell you anything you want to know.
What exactly is a ghostwriter?
A ghostwriter is someone who writes under a name that is not theirs and does not give away their identity. They kind of pretend to be someone else. It used to be, if you said ghostwriter, people thought you were writing biographies for celebrities or something, and they put their own name on it, and it's really someone else. Now, that is one type, but one type that has just exploded in the last 5 to 10 years because of Amazon is people becoming kind of little mini publishers, and I want to start a line of cozy mysteries, and I need like 20 books in a year, and I want to do a line of sweet romances. I need another 20 books. They hire ghostwriters, and all those books have one fake name on them, and it becomes a brand name. Even way back when, I can't remember her name, but the Nancy Drew mysteries all had one name on them.
Carol King.
Yes, and I think that was several different people, if I remember right. That's called a house name. And it just becomes a brand for the book. If you saw Carolyn Keene, you knew what type of book it would be. Same, you see Stephen King or Tom Clancy, you know what to expect, that kind of thing. Your author name is always your brand name. So a ghostwriter just writes for someone else. And we do that because they will pay you right now for the book you turn in. You don't have to wait to see how it's done. But they also buy all the rights, which means you can't tell them which book it is and you get no royalties, you just get a flat fee. So it's a trade-off. And a lot of us make that choice because we'd rather do that than give you a card at Walmart. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I can write books, I would rather. So we can talk more about that later if you'd like, anybody who's interested, and self-publishing as well.
That's cool to know that you're another ghostwriter. It's one of the things I do too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, we have to talk.
Yeah, we talk about that. So this panel in particular is the Butler didn't do it. Because while there are a lot of tropes and things in the mystery genre, there's also a lot of nuanced things and different things. So I think I want to lead with, what are your favorite tropes that you do use that you feel like are not necessarily tired tropes? They are kind of expected in the genre rather than, and then we'll talk more about the ones you don't like. But let's talk about the ones you do like.
All right. Well, first of all, maybe you should define the word tropes, because I learned recently that not everybody knows what that is.
Oh, okay.
I had never heard that until fairly recently.
Okay.
I've been writing for all these years.
Well, then maybe I'll do it this way. I will let you define it your way, and then for your books in particular, and then if you don't know, or you just recently learned, let us know what you recently did,
yeah.
and I'll do the cleanup.
Sure.
So here, I do have 3 different tropes going on,
All right.
even though they are all mysteries. My new book that's out, Lost in Paris, as a historical, I have to research like crazy. Plus, go to Paris. I mean, they're not right about it unless you've been there. And at that time, a lot of people were writing memoirs about their years in Paris. That's a trope, a memoir. But I wanted to write something that was partially true, and actually all of my books are partially true. Picasso is in my books set in Paris. Hemingway. Oh yeah. In this book, Hemingway's wife has lost all of his material, and he is yet to be published as a fiction writer. He was a journalist, but no one ever found that early work, and that was she not only lost all of his books, she lost all of the carbon copies too. So dead. And that was his first novel that was in the valise that she lost. That is true. And to further the truth, that valise was never found. In my book, this gal, who is an artist, a woman, found the material. But I'm not going to talk about that. Now, trope in a historical, I like that, that's a good Freudian slip, is that you have to get your characters right. In other words, your character cannot do anything impossible that could have been outlawed at the time. But I've always had fun breaking tropes. So one of the things that I did not know was that women were not allowed to wear slacks in all of France. Yeah, not just, yeah. And so of course I have my gal picketing with a picket sign down the Champs-Elysees with a bunch of other friends of hers. Women's right to pants. So yeah, and that is fun. You can take a trope and you can use it, you can twist it, which I do with the Lena Jones desert books, which are all set in pretty much in Maricopa County. Lena Jones was found at the age of 4 with a bullet in her head. She survived, obviously, but was raised in foster homes where she had a really bad time. She went through around 14 foster homes, and that's not unusual. But she has become a private detective. So with all of these tropes with private detectives, I was a journalist for 25 years. So what I did in writing the Lena series was I based every book on a case that I either had written about as a journalist or one of my friends, journalist friends, had written about. That included, the abuse of eminent domain. What that means is the government can come in and take your property so that they can build something else. And when Phoenix went into the business of driving a fundraiser, so-called, for sports stadiums downtown Phoenix, they worked with the city council and the representatives, the state representatives, in order to take by force, if necessary, all of the homes that were in that place, in that area, where the 2 stadiums were going to go up. And they just so happened the homes just so happened to belong to different, let's say, families of different colors. Families of different colors. And these, as a going away prize, these people who some of them had lived there for 3 generations, got $25,000. Well, there were deaths. and I won't go into that, but, so that's kind of a new thing right now, doing a mystery based on a real event, which is the same thing for the book called Puffin of Death, That's My Gun Zoo series. My heroine there is a zookeeper, and I was able to come up with that because I was a volunteer. After I retired from the newspaper, I was a volunteer at the Phoenix Zoo. I taught at Phoenix College. At the Phoenix Zoo, and during that time I got to know a lot of the zookeepers, I got to know the animals. Now, my zookeeper keeps stumbling across dead bodies. Now, let's talk about tropes again. One of the tropes, and this sounds humorous, but it's not, is don't kill the kitty. Whenever you're writing a mystery novel, or probably a romance novel, it is a no-no to kill an animal. They don't, with mysteries, they don't care how many people you slaughter. They really don't care. I took out 7 people in my French book. But you should, if you're writing a cozy mystery, which these are, you don't kill the kitty, but you don't kill numerous human beings either. And when you do kill them, you kill them off scene, off stage. So there are rules. There are even rules on this. On the noirs, generally on a noir, the sex is kept to a minimum, and that's what I did. However, if you're writing about Paris, sex cannot be a minimum, especially since my artist gal has a mirror over her bed. So, and the funny thing is, I learned how to write sex scenes from Diana Gabaldon. Yep. Diana Gabaldon actually wrote a book, for those of you who are interested, on how to write sex scenes. And the interesting thing was, it was mainly dialogue. And that had never occurred to me, that most of a really great sex scene is going to be dialogue. So with that, I'm going to pass because I'm in dangerous waters here now. Go right ahead.
Okay. Talking about tropes, I tend to be a little more nuts and bolts on what those are. A trope is just a certain situation, a certain storyline that you might come to expect in a certain genre. Genre is just an overview, like mystery, a romance, a western, just a very general type of book. A trope in mystery might be the intrepid female sleuth who doesn't give up, and cozies very often have that. And in case you've not heard the definition, a cozy mystery always has an amateur solving the crime. It's not a detective, it's not a police officer, it's just a regular person who has some other job. Very often it's female in these cozies, and it's the amateurs who somehow solve the crime. It's just like Murder, She Wrote. If you've seen that, or the Agatha Christie, the Miss Marple stories, Nancy Drew, that kind of thing. And they usually take place just in a small town, small area. That's why they're called cozies. They're not worldwide thrillers or something. So tropes in those, it could be the butler did it, or it could be the butler didn't. Locked room is a trope in mystery. Like, how's it possible if no one could get in or out of this room and someone died there? How did that happen? You have to figure that out. Bigger, more professional sleuth mysteries. You have the hard-boiled detective, the old cynical guy, and his best friend dies. You have one? Yep, see? And readers look for those. You know what type of story you like, and you can look for those different tropes. Romance absolutely has them. There's about 1 million of those. But that's what a trope is, just a storyline that is often repeated, just with different characters. We just change the names. And because we know that appeals to people. If you pick up a cozy mystery, you have expectations of what you expect to find there. We have to solve the mystery. We can't just say, well, sorry, they just never figured it out. Like, oh no. you throw that book across the room, you'd never read this again.
Stephen King did that. He didn't solve it. The Cincinnati Kid. He
Oh,
did not solve the mystery at the end.
maybe that's why I didn't read it. But usually you do. Romance, the couple has to end up together, or it's not romance. It could be something else, but not romance. So that's what a trope is. And if you're writing this, you can go online and find huge lists of them and see what you think. What I like is the more I can refine it down into very individual, very specific tropes, the more I like it. So I'll just take one or two, put them in the book, and expand on those. The last thing is the cozies that I write, I tend not to use murder mysteries. I did do a couple in the series that I have, which is in like I think it broke the 20-book mark just earlier this year. So I have a lot of them. But I don't usually do murder mysteries. I'd rather have something stolen, something missing, even a reputation being ruined, who did it, things like that. It's kind of the same thing, only different. But you can't get too different, or your audience will not find the tropes that it's looking for. So it's all y'all's fault. We have to give you what you need. But seriously, it's a bit of a collaboration. I mean, I'm writing, if I want you to buy my book, I have to give you what you want, and I'm more than fine to do that. There's plenty that I'm happy to write about that I think you will like too. And you have to do that if you want to sell.
Whereas I have fun breaking the tropes. I lead my reader into believing they're getting, oh yeah, this is what you're going to get, and then I pull the switchblade on them.
That's cool. I like that though. And I think that's true, that as the genres have grown and developed, and as more readers come to them, they like that fun aspect too.
Yeah.
You guys mentioned noir, you mentioned cozy mystery, you mentioned thriller, those global thrillers. So you can tell us again what yours kind of fall into, but what are some specific tropes for kind of each of those, and why do you like to write those? What makes those enjoyable to write? Because I think that kind of leads into what makes it enjoyable to read as well. So we'll start with cozy, because I think you both said that you wrote a little bit of cozy, so we'll start with that one. And I think Weston writes thrillers.
One of the things in a cozy is no sex. And there's not romances. Now, I think in certain romances, you can go up to that point, but not all. And generally, a cozy, like in the Jessica Fletcher series, I mean, no one had affairs, but you can have affairs in a cozy now. But they do like a little bit of romance, but not enough romance to overwhelm the mystery, because I kill people. I mean, that's the way I have fun. I just sit around wondering who I'm going to kill the next day. Well, and here's the thing. I was on a panel down in Tucson with a bunch of mystery writers from all over the country. And when we would hang out afterwards, we would say, one person would say, yeah, I killed my boss twice. And what she meant was, her boss had given her a really, really hard time. So rather than pay money for a psychiatrist to get rid of her aggression and evil thoughts, she killed him in 2 different books. I have killed one of my ex-bosses in 3 different books. And I've killed them in my cozy. But so you don't get to see a lot of blood in a cozy either. So on this one, the puffin of death, a birder, you know what a birder is, people with their spyglasses walking around following birds. There's a big puffin rookery in Iceland. They have millions of puffins. And my first victim, as I said, first victim, is found dead, his body draped over a puffin burrow. Puffins don't fly into the trees. They can fly, but they like to burrow into the ground. And so my detective, my sleuth, who is the zookeeper, she's in Iceland to pick up a polar bear cub that was abandoned. She happens to be riding one of these Icelandic horses up to the cliff where the puffins roost, and she sees a dead man lying across a puffin burrow, and the puffin has been pecking away at the guy in order for the puffin to be able to get out. Okay, so rules on cozies. I know I should not have as much blood in my books as I do, but I do, and so there you are. I did get to say that part of that man's nose was no longer attached to his face when the body was found. But that's supposed to be a no-no, and I don't care about the no-nos. I'm a rebel. Okay. So cute, and cozies also tend to be very humorous, and which a disaster happens to my zookeeper in every single book. An animal-caused disaster. When I was at the Phoenix Zoo, they had something called the Great Flamingo Roundup. They had to catch all the flamingos and give them their the bird flu shots. Okay, so that's one of the craziest things you will ever see. They go into the enclosure, and you'll have one zookeeper here, one zookeeper here, and they have long oars, and they approach the flamingos and herd them into a little tight place, and then they grab the flamingo by the body, not the neck, because you break the neck, and they go check, and then they let the flamingo go. Well, my poor Teddy it's a she. Teddy is attacked by a flamingo.
Oh no.
And yeah, the nasty flamingo attacked sweet Teddy. And so, but it's funny. I wrote it funny because the flamingo got away with one of Teddy's earrings. Yeah, I know. It's just so tragic. So you have no sex, little blood, body count low, and humor. And those are the things that will make up a cozy. But also another thing, for those of you who have seen the Jessica Fletcher mysteries, Cabot Cove, well, the character is very important. I cannot have the same character in my noir books because she would not fit. Teddy would never fit into a noir book. Teddy is sweet, she loves animals, she's got a sense of humor, and she's courageous. But she is not sexually active, and she never hurts anybody because she doesn't know how. So there are the tropes for the cozies. Yeah, bet you have some to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned that there is a dead body in your cozy, but not much blood,
Yeah.
and that there can be affairs in a cozy, but not much sex. So when you talk about not including sex, are you specifically talking about
Would
sex
you be a little louder,
scenes?
please?
Sorry. You were talking about not including sex into a cozy.
Yeah.
But there can be affairs. So can something like that be implied without including like the sex scene
Yes.
part of it?
Yes,
So that's
very
okay.
easily applied. Some guy sneaks out of a woman's house at 3 a.m.
Right.
Well, guess what? They weren't cooking turkeys. So you imply. I thought I was. Oh, and this. You younger folks don't listen to what I'm about to say. There's a very big difference in the way men write a sex scene as opposed to a woman writing a sex scene. The men tend to be very clinical. They name everything. The woman doesn't do that. The woman,
Focuses on emotion.
which is of course, like Diana Gabaldon tells us, is shown in dialogue.
So we kind of threw off with the question, but do you have any tropes in yours that she didn't mention that you're like, oh, what about this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a somewhat different approach, partly because I'm doing just one cozy series.
Yeah.
And my client that I write for, she just gave me a cups of cozy mystery. I want a female amateur sleuth. Go, and I did all the rest. In mine though, I like to do, like I said, not a murder mystery. I like to try to find something else. One trope I like is the person who does the wrong thing for the right reason, like maybe tries to steal money because, you know, this family up the street really needs it, and, you know, it's okay if I do that. Well, he's still going to jail, but you can build a story around something like that. Other popular tropes, I'm trying to think of the ones that I've used. Someone has the reputation destroyed. You can always have something stolen, and why was it stolen? Why was it valuable? Maybe the trope of something that seems to not be valuable, you know, like your glasses case, but it's missing and everybody's frantic to get it back. Why is it?
Okay, so this way. All right, set my little video recorder on, so hopefully we'll get some good video of you guys talking too.